Here's something most people don't consider. Catwoman's signature moves involve falls from heights that would shatter your ankles and spinal compression. Professional parkour athletes spend years conditioning their bodies and still suffer chronic joint damage. She does this nightly in high heels while wearing a skin-tight suit that restricts breathing. Your knees would give out in weeks. Your spine would herniate from repeated impacts, and those aerobatic landings? They'd leave you with stress fractures that never properly heal. But the physical toll is just the start. In this video, we'll break down the reality of Catwoman's parkour lifestyle, what her gear actually does to the body, and the long-term damage from a life spent scaling Gotham's rooftops. So what happens when you try to live as Gotham's most acrobatic thief? Catwoman, also known as Selina Kyle, is presented as the ultimate master thief. Agile, precise, and seemingly immune to the laws of physics. Across comics, films, and television, she leaps between buildings, scales walls with her bare hands, and lands perfectly from falls that would hospitalize anyone else. She operates in the shadows of Gotham City, stealing high-value targets while evading both Batman and the police. The appeal is obvious. You'd move like a dancer, fight like a martial artist, and escape from any situation with style. But the moment you examine what her lifestyle actually requires, the fantasy starts to crack. Selina Kyle's origin varies across different versions, but the core remains consistent. She grew up in Gotham's East End, often depicted as an orphan who learned to steal to survive. She taught herself acrobatics, martial arts, and burglary techniques through years of practice. In most versions, she has no superpowers, just peak human conditioning and exceptional skill. That peak human conditioning phrase gets thrown around a lot in comics, but what it actually means is a body pushed to absolute limits every single night, no room for error and no time for proper recovery. Quick pause, if this kind of analysis interests you, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe for more. Catwoman's movement style is based on parkour and free running, disciplines that involve vaulting over obstacles, scaling walls, and making precision jumps between surfaces. Professional parkour athletes train for years to develop the strength and coordination needed to do this safely. Even then, injuries are common. The human body isn't designed for repeated high-impact landings. When you jump from height and land, your ankles, knees, and spine absorb the force. Land incorrectly and you're looking at sprained ankles, torn ligaments, or broken bones. Land correctly but do it hundreds of times, and you're looking at chronic joint degeneration. Catwoman doesn't just practice parkour, she does it in high heels. In multiple comic runs and in the 2004 film, she wears heeled boots while performing acrobatics. Heels shift your center of gravity forward, placing extra strain on your calves and Achilles tendons. They reduce ankle stability, making sprains and fractures more likely. Landing from a jump in heels would send the impact force directly through your heel bone into your ankle joint. Then, there's the whip. Catwoman's bullwhip is iconic. She uses it to swing between buildings, disarm opponents, and as a grappling tool. A bullwhip is typically 6 to 12 feet long and made of braided leather. Swinging your full body weight on a whip puts hundreds of pounds of force through your shoulder joint. Rotator cuff tears would be inevitable. Your hands would develop calluses so thick they'd crack and bleed. And that's assuming the whip even holds. In the real world, a leather whip isn't designed to support body weight. It would stretch, fray, and eventually snap. Catwoman's suit is tight. The skin-tight catsuit is a signature part of her look, but it comes with serious physiological problems. First, breathing. A suit that tight restricts chest expansion. Your lungs need room to fully inflate when you breathe, especially during intense physical activity. When you're running, jumping, and fighting, your oxygen demands skyrocket. A restrictive suit means you can't get full breaths, which leads to faster fatigue and reduced performance. Second, circulation. Tight clothes compresses blood vessels, particularly in the extremities. Reduced blood flow means your muscles don't get enough oxygen during exertion, leading to faster muscle fatigue and cramping. Third, temperature regulation. Your body cools itself through sweating. A skin-tight leather or vinyl suit traps sweat against your skin, preventing evaporation. You'd overheat within minutes of physical activity. Overheating leads to heat exhaustion and heat stroke, both of which can be fatal. The suit also offers zero impact protection. Unlike Batman, who wears armored plating, Catwoman's suit is just fabric or leather. When she gets hit, there's nothing between her body and the impact. Bruised ribs and soft tissue damage would be constant. Then there's the cowl. The mask covers her face, which limits peripheral vision. Peripheral vision is critical for spatial awareness, especially when you're jumping between buildings or fighting multiple opponents. Reduced peripheral vision means slower reaction times and higher risk of misjudging distances. Catwoman scales buildings with her bare hands or with retractable claws built into her gloves. In either case, the physical demands are brutal. Rock climbers spend years developing the finger strength and grip endurance needed to support their body weight on small holds. Even then, they suffer from chronic finger injuries and tendinitis. Catwoman climbs vertical surfaces nightly, often at speed without rest days. Your fingers would give out first. The tendons in your hands and forearms would develop tendinitis from repetitive gripping. Finger joints would swell and become arthritic. The small muscles in your hands would be in a constant state of fatigue. Then, there's the shoulders. Climbing requires you to pull your entire body weight upward repeatedly. Your lats, biceps, and shoulders handle that load. Do it once or twice and you're sore. Do it every night for years and you're looking at muscle imbalances, chronic shoulder pain, and rotator cuff degeneration. In Batman Returns, Catwoman is shown climbing straight up the sides of buildings using her claws. The claws dig into brick or concrete. That means every upward movement requires her to pierce a hard surface and support her full body weight. The force required to punch through brick with hand claws would shatter the bones in your hands. Catwoman fights. A lot. She's trained in multiple martial arts and holds her own against Batman, one of the best hand-to-hand combatants in DC Comics. But fighting takes a toll that the comics rarely show. Every punch, kick, and block creates impact forces that travel through your body. Hitting someone hurts you too. Blocking a punch with your forearm causes bone bruising. Taking a hit to the ribs can crack them. Catwoman doesn't wear armor. When she fights, she's absorbing full impact with no padding. Broken fingers from punching, bruised ribs from kicks, sprained wrists from blocks, these would be constant. Professional fighters wear gloves and protective gear for a reason. Catwoman has none of that. Then there's the concussion risk. She gets hit in the head regularly. In Batman Hush, she takes blows to the head during fights. Each head impact risks concussion. Multiple concussions lead to CTE, the same degenerative brain disease that affects boxers and football players. Memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and mood changes would follow. Between heists, Catwoman gets some downtime, but her body never gets enough time to actually heal. Muscle recovery requires rest and time. After intense physical activity, your muscles need 48 to 72 hours to fully repair. Catwoman operates nearly every night. That means her muscles are in a perpetual state of breakdown with no real recovery period. Performance would decline steadily. Injuries would accumulate. Tendon and ligament damage takes even longer to heal. A sprained ankle needs weeks of rest. A torn rotator cuff can take months. Catwoman doesn't have months. She's back on the rooftops the next night, re-injuring tissue that hasn't healed. The comics and films show her as perpetually graceful and uninjured. Reality would show someone moving stiffly, favoring injured joints, and dealing with constant pain. Chronic injuries change how you move. Your body compensates for pain by altering movement patterns, which then creates new injuries in other areas. Even if your body survived, there's the mental toll. Catwoman operates alone. No team, no backup, no support system. Just her against Gotham. The isolation would be crushing. Humans are social creatures. Operating in complete secrecy with no one to trust creates psychological strain. Paranoia would set in. You'd be constantly looking over your shoulder, unable to form genuine connections because anyone could betray you. Then there's the moral weight. Catwoman is a thief. She steals, often from people who might not deserve it. Over time, the psychological cost of living outside of society's rules takes a toll. So could you handle being Catwoman? Physically, your joints would deteriorate, your muscles would break down, and your body would be covered in injuries that never fully heal. Psychologically, you'd be isolated, paranoid, and carrying the weight of a life built on crime. What looks like freedom and grace on the page is actually a life of chronic pain and constant danger. Smash that like button, subscribe if you want more reality versus fiction breakdowns, and comment which character's lifestyle you want me to analyze next. Your suggestion might be the next video. Fantasy might push beyond human limits, but understanding what's real makes the story even better.